Hey everyone, this is Chaos with Chaos Games. Today, what I want to talk about is a hot topic. As you've been keeping up with any kind of gaming news, you've definitely heard about this whole fiasco, Cyberpunk 2077. But um, not really here to talk about the news so much. I've actually played the game, beaten the main story, gotten a couple endings now, so I have a pretty good grasp about the game in its best form. I didn't play it on base. I'm not like one of these other reviewers who give you a holistic view of how it plays and what it does on every single platform. Uh, in my case, it was either get it on the PS4 basic because that's what I have. I never got the Pro because I don't update consoles like that, uh, or my rig I built. So of course, since my rig has the superior hardware in it by far, that's what I played it on, which just so happens to be, apparently, from all reports, the best way to play the game. Um, so, my experience with it, with my setup, has been uh, pretty good. I mean, the way it played, I was able to get to 60 frames a second at a decent resolution. 4K, I couldn't pull 60 frames a second. My rig isn't that good. I don't have your higher end stuff like your RTX 3080s or 90s. I'm working with a Power Color Red Devil 5700 XT, so RX 5700 XT. So it's slightly faster than what these new consoles have in it without ray tracing, basically. Um, and then I have a 3600X CPU. So altogether, when I built it, was about back in May. It was about 1.4K. Got about 16 gigabytes RAM in it. All right, so pretty decent setup. I'll be able to play most of these things at least at 1440. With this game, I was able to achieve a 1440 stable frame rate at about 1440p. Um, I couldn't do that with 4K though. 2160p was an impossibility, and no matter what I did, I could drop it all, everything down to low turn, all the fixings off. The best I still achieved about 50 frames per second at with standing still. So wasn't gonna happen. So I played it at 1440 to get the best optimized experience I could, and it was a great experience for me. On my setup, I hear people even say on PC that some rigs will have constant crashes, uh, constant issues. I rarely saw any of that after tweaking my settings. Um, I will tell you, two crashes total. My rig has crashes on other things a lot more. Like when I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, several more crashes. Um, this had only one game crash. Uh, I'm gonna differentiate. I had a one game crash and one system crash. The game crash is just the game dropped off, and then at that point it said, "Oh, Chumba" or some stuff. Send an error report, and I did. That's a game crash. System crash happens a lot more on my rig. Something happens with the AMD software, I guess. I'm not sure, like a Wattman setting or something goes wrong, and the whole system collapses and then it restarts. So this game it caused one game crash and one system crash. Pretty good track record. I put over 60, 70 hours in this game already. So on PC, or at least on my rig, it runs like a well-oiled machine, the way I set it up. I can't speak. I would have played on basic PS4 with that stuff. I'm glad I didn't have to because I was able to play the game in its best form. All right, or at least one of its best forms. My rig isn't high tier; it's mid tier at best. So I'm going to speak on it in terms of what the game has to offer, what the game has to, um, from a world environment. I'm able to look past those housekeeping issues that you might find on a review about how bad the base console's running. We're not going to focus on that. Let's focus on the game itself because I was able to look past that. It wasn't an issue for me. Game is great. The vision, the setting is amazing. I love it. Reminds me, the city reminds me of how that movie it came back in the early 2010s, that Dread movie with the super complexes. Brilliant. I love that vision, that vision of the future. Um, love the first person shooting aspects of the game. Uh, rarely do I play. I don't play a lot of first person shooters, but what I really liked about that is that the smart environmental cover system, which I don't know. I don't play a lot of first person shooters. Tell me if you've seen a game that does this. But when you duck behind a piece of environment, like a crate or a wall, you're behind a wall like this or a crate like this. You point the gun. Your character will lean around it without having to press any button to like a third person shoot like Gears of War. You have to press to the thing, press to the wall, the surface, and then once in press mode, you can aim over. Here, you're not doing any of that. You're just going up to it. The game recognizes where you are, and it leans around it by itself or above it. If it's a crate, it's brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it for an open world game. To be able to react to environments in that manner is pretty great to me. With it, like the story, got into it. I was engaged. Um, the side jobs, the gigs, it's going around the city, making it happen, hustling. Love it. I won't say too much about the story because I don't want to get spoilers. It's not my place here. But it is an engaging story. Uh, you feel for the main character, especially what he or she is going through in this case. It's a very troubling situation that they find themselves in this game. And at least in my experience, I was very, very much engrossed in what was going on and the struggle. And they never unlike other open world games, there's a feature that they throw in there to make you focus. Like, hey, this is still happening. You know, something happens every so often. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. That thing is still a pressing issue that we got to deal with. So, some games like Skyrim, they don't really do a lot to open world sandbox games. Sometimes don't do a lot to remind you that there's a pressing issue going on, but here they do, and I find that pretty interesting. Will say that game isn't perfect. First, as brilliant as the environment is, the outlook on a futuristic time period, clustered in super cities, and the way you do the net running and the different lore that Mike Ponspiff created with Cyberpunk and the accuracy in which they tried to uphold it in the game, you do find limitations. Their effort is to portray a very corrupt city life where you really can't trust too many people, especially government officials and corporations. And I remember reading that they were trying to have it so where you would have like very corrupt police officers who you could bribe to get out of any situation. Yeah, that's not the case here. They did. I feel like CDPR will try to adjust a lot of these AI issues, but as soon as you get in trouble with the cops, they pop in out of nowhere and they start shooting instantly. So you can just look at them wrong some way. It's like you're not even going in. You see them sometimes around the red, yellow tape, and you're just rubbernecking. You stop, look at it for a second. If you look too long, sometimes they'll look at you, pull their guns out, and start shooting at you, like stupid stuff like that. So, and then they're not coming to you asking for a bribe. You're not seeing any of this corruption that they were advertising in the system. It's very basic, and I think CDPR needs to patch in some AI. I don't know how they're going to do that. I have confidence that they'll figure something out, though. Yeah. Now on to the elephant in the room, though. I enjoyed the game personally a lot, but like I said, issues with physics and AI, things clipping into you. Stab or punch an enemy into a wall, and their arm gets stuck, and they're just stuck in the wall. Weird stuff like that needs to be patched out. Physics, AI. Daggone cops give up the chase if you get more than 10 feet away from them. It's like they could have taken some cues from like Oblivion and then Skyrim when you get in trouble with the law. Cop runs up to you, engages you in dialogue, asks for a bribe. That's an option. I don't know why they didn't. They could have taken cues from Grand Theft Auto when the cops don't give up a chase easy at all. And the more they want you, the harder they search for you. It's been a function of GTA since I started playing the series back in GTA 3. I never played 2 or 1, so I don't know what that was like. Even though it's in my era, I just never got into GTA until it hit the 3D stage real. So, on to the elephant in the room, though. CDPR, I have a lot of respect for them. They made my favorite game of all time, which is The Witcher 3. So I'm a bit biased to them, and I have a compelled to try to defend them on a lot of things. So here, their treatment of PS4 and Xbox One Basic is kind of inexcusable. I want to defend them, and I will make a defense of them, but on surface, it's inexcusable. They've been making this game since 2012, before PS4, Xbox One even came out. I've heard people say that, try to defend them in a ridiculous way, where they'll say, this game was never meant for last-gen consoles. I'm like, yeah, they started making this game before PlayStation 4 or Xbox One even existed. They definitely made this game with those systems in mind, for sure. There's no excuse. At worst, what they ended up doing is catering to the high-end style. Well, what they should have done, because if you look at a lot of the settings in the game's obviously made to be optimized for higher end GPUs and higher end setups. But what they should have done, at worst, is made taking a page from something I haven't seen done in a long time. The last time I saw this happen was during the last straddle period. The last straddle period between the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. See, the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 were so different in graphical capability that they had to do that. So, like, for example, back at that time, for those who are too young to remember, they taken like NBA Live, for example. When the PlayStation 3 came into being, they made a version for the PS2, which looked vastly different. It was a totally different version of the game. And then they made a version for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. These games look totally different. And I feel like that's kind of what they needed to do here. They needed to make an even lower end optimization option for this. Really dial down the textures and graphical layout. But I think people mistake what CDPR is. See, a lot of people perceive them to be some AAA company. But they are really not. They're AA at best. They just make very quality games, which ups their perception. But that's not them. They don't have those kind of resources. And I think this is why they do. I can't excuse their actions, but I can understand they're human. They felt the pressure to get this. And I'll tell you how not only were they feeling pressure from us, the consumer, saying, get it out, want to play it, we're losing hype. The longer you're delaying this, the longer the less we're excited about this game, the less likely we are to buy it at launch. I've heard that. People, like, the longer they were holding off, the less excited people were getting about it. I mean, I would have bought it whenever they put it out, but that's because I'm a I have an extreme amount of trust for CDPR, and I'm confident in their work. They made my favorite game of all time. Of course, I'm going to support whatever they do, but not everybody's like me. So they're betting on the average gamer who's excited about it, but if you keep pushing it back, they're going to not buy it. The hype will die down. But we're not even the important part as a consumer. It's business. Because they're not a AAA size company, they had to get investors. So they got investors. As a business, I was a business management major in college. Let me tell you the first question these people are going to ask when a board meeting comes up. We'll invest, but what's our ROI? What's our return on investment? And how long will it take for us to see it? Okay? That's the only thing these investors care about. That's why when people say, I want to just do it my own independent project, there's benefits to that because you don't have people in your ear yelling at you, where's my ROI? Where's my money at? But they didn't do that route. It was an ambitious project. It's taken nearly a decade to complete. They got investors, and these investors want where my money at. They couldn't delay anymore. The last big board meeting I heard reports of them having, they said that they were trying to tell the investors why they were delaying again. The investors, they had to sell this idea to them. They couldn't delay anymore. It wasn't because of us. If it was just because of us, they would have said, "I'm sorry, guys, we're polishing it. You just got to wait, and we'll risk it. We'll risk the lack of hype, and we'll try to make it work. We're not ready yet. They're not that big. Again, it's perception. Their quality of their work makes them seem like a AAA developer, but they're not. Okay? So they had to release something. But I'm confident now that they have released it, and they did get good sales, largely on the PC. About 60% of the sales went to PC, and that's a large margin, and they got over 8 million in sales. So they've already got back to black. Anything else is profit at this point. CDPR is gonna patch this stuff in. It's gonna make an optimized version eventually for these lower end consoles, but it's gonna take some time. They have a history of doing that. They'll patch holes. They'll make things more crisp. Like Witcher 3, 5 years on, they're still thinking, oh, we're gonna make a 4K ray tracing version of it. We're gonna add a 4K ray tracing patch. So they're not gonna stop working on this game. It's gonna get fixed. It's gonna become more and more optimized. We have to give them some time for that though, because again, they're not that big. Even though don't let the quality of their work fool you, they're not that big. That's my defense of them. But the lies and stuff, it's inexcusable, but I understand it because that's why that pressure they're feeling from their investors has really caused them to behave so uncharacteristically. That's where it came from. So, but now that the investors have seen their return, they and anything else they get now is just icing on the cake. I think that the pressures, it gives them a chance to breathe for a second, and get back to it. Get back to polishing that bad boy up and putting some patches out that'll fix things up. Just give them some time. That's all I'm asking. As a fan of CDPR, and as my defense for them, it's only downhill from here for them. Okay, they're gonna fix this stuff. All right, have confidence in that. That's all I'm saying. But to me, it was a great game. I look forward to seeing what they do with it, with fixes and features they add in. Because again, I'm pretty sure CDPR is good for it, unless they've had such a seismic change in culture since Witcher 3 came out. I have a lot of faith in this company to turn things around here. I think their image is just spoiled on these last-gen consoles, unfortunately, at this point. But for people like me who are on the PC, when they do actually put out their next generation console version of this game, I think it's going to breathe new life into it, and we'll see they'll come out on top on this. But I just want to give my little 2 cents on the game. I regret anybody. I'm sorry anybody who got it on the PS4 or Xbox One Basic. Um, I suggest that if I just recently got a PlayStation 5 ordered in, I slipped one in at Walmart, so it should be coming to me by January 8th. That's what they say. I haven't got a confirmation of shipment yet. But anybody who's on these last gen consoles and you don't see any chance of you being able to get a next gen console anytime soon, I recommend that you, from what I've heard, is that you should probably try to play it on Stadia. Just grab a laptop or a Chromecast or something that you have, anything with these good internet connection, and just open up the Chrome browser, go on Stadia, and stream the game. Apparently plays great that way. So I recommend that way if you don't have money for a hardware upgrade and you still want to play some next gen titles at high quality. Stadia is starting to shine a little bit now. They're coming into their own. Give cloud gaming a chance if you don't have the money or the resources to do upgrading hardware, because they host the hardware for you, so you don't have to. But other than that, I think I've droned on. I seriously doubt anybody's going to watch it this long, but in case you made it this far, till next time, gamers, game on.